Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So we are here today with a very stable milking stool, and happy Dork Day to everyone. I thought that was an interesting holiday to come up.
Is this a real thing, or have you made it up?
Well, it came up on Google, and if it's on the internet, it must be true.
No, this is true. Well, you just said so, yeah, it must be true. I guess you're right there.
Yep, the internet says the internet is true.
Mm-hmm. And you're on the internet, so there we go.
Yeah, it's not like just anybody can get a channel like this.
No.
So I see Doc Fearson and TV Tube in the side. So how's everybody doing today?
Is TV Tube a person?
To the best of my knowledge, could be a bot. Hard to tell these days.
I don't know, because
I'm not going to accuse anybody of being a bot, though. That would be insulting.
No, I just recognize the name, but they were there before you went live. But okay, right.
Oh no, TV Tube's been around for quite a while. I'd see him in a lot of other chats, or see them in a lot of other chats. I don't know gender.
Not to worry. I'm probably just imagining it, no matter.
Oh. So, yeah, after I wrap this up today, I've got actual doctor's appointment and meeting my new doctor for the first time.
What, in real life?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, they actually have to give me a physical checkup before they can renew my prescriptions, so.
Oh, that should be fun for you. Get you out of the house.
Yeah.
Out into the world that you love so much.
Well, unfortunately, I have to go out more than I want to just because I, winding up doing everything online, so I have to go to the post office. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to keep it down to less than once a week, but I wind up having to go to the post office at least twice a week because nobody wants to wait for stuff either.
Well, that's going to be fun. When I go to the post office next week, I'll have to make sure I have masks, otherwise I'll get the police on my back.
Are you against wearing masks in the shops?
I'm not against it, no, not at all, but nobody does it. The novelty wore off after a short while, so people just don't seem to bother anymore.
Yeah. Here it's about half and half, but as far as the novelty wearing off around here, that happened for a lot of things after about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's about as long as social distancing lasts.
Yeah. The novelty wore off very quickly. I can only speak for where I live. I don't know, because I haven't been very far over the last however many months it is. I can tell you when I had my hair cut and my beard.
Yep.
When I had those done, whenever that was, last week, was it? I don't know. That was the first day he'd opened, and he had his mask and gloves on and what have you, which they have to do over here. That's kind of the law. Barbers and what have you. But as for everybody else, you'll see the odd person every now and again, but most people have never really bothered around here in my immediate sort of vicinity.
So they're cracking down on the masks. Are they still going to have the pubs and restaurants open?
Yeah, where you do not have to wear a mask, obviously. And yeah, it's an absolute clusterfuck. Johnson is, well, we got this. Oh, Jesus. You know, I get a headache just thinking about it. I think this announcement was made on Monday about the shop masks. And then today he said, oh, you know what? I think if you're going into a takeaway to bring food out, then you don't need to wear a mask. It's just fucking ridiculous.
Okay, sounds like too many rules for people to keep track of them.
That's how it's been from day one. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Hey, Kate, how are you
Hey,
doing?
how's it going? What's up? What's new? What's happening? And why?
Everything 37 and blue. I think I win a prize.
Well, that is my favorite color.
37 is your favorite color?
No blue.
The color of your pants.
It turns out that blue rhymes with chartreuse.
That's a handy tip.
Yeah, I thought so.
So you're just here to do color commentary?
I am. Yes.
So,
Although I'm not going to shout goal like that foreign soccer announcer dude. You know the one I mean.
so since this thing was announced on Monday, and this is an official law now, but it was announced, what would it be, 2 weeks before the law comes into effect, and nobody understands why. And there's nobody to police the actual law because we don't have guards outside every shop entrance or anything. We haven't got enough police, so that's not going to work. So it's just another episode in Clusterfuck UK. It's really fucking depressing.
It doesn't sound as bad as here, though.
Well, not quite, but I was just saying to Purple about this new mask law. We've got our own version of your fuckers, you know, tyranny and all that shit.
Oh, them.
Yeah, yes. And this is the UK, for fuck's sake. But we've got them now, and they've been out in force non-stop, constantly for the past 2 days. You've got fucking Conservative MPs in the House of Commons doing it. They're calling it being muzzled and all this shite. Oh.
Well, you know, they say that, but maybe it's just me. I think muzzling them might not be the worst thing in the world.
Well, I'd do something else personally to them, but I can't believe how quickly we are becoming you.
Well, where do you think we came from originally?
Storks.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you just have to keep reminding them that wearing a mask screws up the facial recognition software the deep state is using to track us.
Unfortunately, someone's going to point out that China has come up with facial recognition that can see who someone is through a mask.
Oh, God.
I wish that weren't true.
Yeah, so we've got the mask idiots who they're actually worse than your lot. They are really, the shit that they're coming out with is, oh God, you get a headache just thinking about it. It's so bad. But we've also had this other thing. My red light's flashing. Am I sounding weird?
No, you sound fine.
Oh, I don't like it when things flash red. We've also had this thing over here where we've kicked Huawei out.
Huawei's out?
Huawei. I don't know how you say it. The 5G people. Huawei. Oh, seriously, come on. That was...
Okay, the 5G people?
I'm sounding like one of them people now. Oh, no. The people who make the fucking 5G stuff. Huawei from China.
I never heard of them.
You two are taking the piss. You're winding me up.
No, I've
dead
heard it
serious.
mentioned in a couple of videos, but I'm not familiar with them.
I honestly, genuinely don't believe I've
Yeah.
ever heard of these people.
Yeah, I know it's a Chinese company that makes a lot of the hardware for the 5G networks.
Are you taking the piss out of me?
No, not at all. I swear on my children that I don't have.
They're not big in the US.
They actually kind of are. But anyway, they've been involved in a lot of the infrastructure for mobile communications and whatever, and internet stuff. So they are in your country, but a lot of it is already in our country. 3G, 4G, everything, internet, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Been around for fucking ages. Reason being, it's Chinese and it's cheap as fuck. And Trump has been going blah, 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 and he doesn't like them because they're from China. And if you buy a Huawei phone, you can't get any apps from Google App Store because Google App Store won't allow them on because America said fuck off. And Trump has just done his thing where he said, okay, they can fuck off. We don't want them. And so we've had to follow suit. And so a fucking clown of a prime minister has just said, right, by the end of this year, you are not allowed to purchase any more equipment from these people. And by 2027, 7 years, replace everything.
Okay, what's the rationale for kicking them out?
Throughout the country, the entire fucking network, replace all that Huawei stuff. And the rationale is because China are cunts, we know this. They did do some pretty shitty things to the people. They're killing quite a lot of their own people now and imprisoning them and cutting pieces of the bodies out and selling them and all that shit.
Yeah, but what company are you going to buy electronics from that they're not produced in China?
I think there's a few that make their electronics in Korea.
Well, the thing is, Huawei, because it's entirely Chinese owned, the actual company, so it's not just the parts, it's a Chinese company, which means if you understand China, you can't trust the fuckers because of how China works. And so if you've got your entire communications infrastructure built from Chinese stuff, well, this particular Chinese company, they've got a lot of fucking power over you. Yeah, they can flick a switch and, that's it. No internet for you, UK. No mobile phone signals for you, UK kind of stuff. They are dodgy people, so we've got to get rid of them because Trump says so.
Well, I can see there that, it could be a problem if you think they're a real security risk, but...
Well, that's the problem, because our boffins, our spy boffins, who are like pretty good, we haven't just given these contracts out to this company willy-nilly. They look into this shit and they've said, no, everything's fine. But now Trump has said something, then our clown has to follow suit. So 7 years seems like a long time, but to sort of rip out every single piece of equipment in the...
Okay, Amiga Nuts is saying Samsung, so I guess they're not produced in China.
Is he just saying that for random? Why is he saying Samsung?
I'm thinking that was in response to the thing about what electronics company aren't produced in China.
Oh, right, yeah. No, it's Chinese bits and bobs and pieces, I think, is fine. But because Huawei is a Chinese company in China, if you know how China works, then big companies basically have government spies basically working within that company, and they have to report to the government and blah, blah, blah. And it's a bit of a security risk if they have total control over your telecoms network, backdoors, etc., and all that shit.
Yeah.
But we're still letting China build our nuclear power stations. So, yeah, it's not all bad.
So, how do you spell this Huawei company's
Are you
name?
really taking the...
No, I'm dead ass serious, dude. I have never heard of these fuckers, and I'm curious.
Just blinds me. Okay, I'll try and spell it. It's HUWAEI or something like that.
Okay, I'm looking. I don't think we have them here in the U.S.
You fucking do. They're everywhere, you silly person.
Well, I don't think we have them directly in the U.S. It's likely their equipment is, sold here under a different name.
Actually, it says something in here about like making parts for Samsung. So it might just be that like they're not the brand of whatever phone it is
Oh.
we're buying, but they build the parts for them.
Maybe
I'll have
that's
to
what
keep
Amiga
reading
Nuts
here
was
in
saying. That
Wikipedia, but
yeah.
It could be that in your weird company, but they do make mobile phones or whatever you call them, cell phones, with that name on them. So maybe they're just, I don't know.
oh no,
I
I
can't
misread
remember.
that. They're not making shit for Samsung. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, Hans has got the spelling there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the one.
I already found it, but
Okay.
Huawei.
Huawei. It's like, was it McDonald's or Burger King? You can have it Huawei, your way,
That
That's
was
all
the
I can
Burger
think
King
of when you
slogan.
say it.
It took us months to learn how to pronounce that word, but their phones over here do not sell very well anymore because they're like typical Chinese stuff. It's good kit, and they're Android phones. It's good kit, cheap because it's Chinese, but you can't get any apps on them anymore because Trump told Google to tell them to fuck off.
I don't know why Google didn't tell Trump to fuck off, but
I don't know.
well, they shoulda.
I should have.
Now, it's not like Google is doing a great things for the working class either. So,
Yeah, well, what you
Google
gonna
could
do?
be backing Trump because he's doing something for their stocks.
Yeah, China are a security risk. That's not really a fucking surprise, but it's Trump. He probably wanted an American company to get the deals.
Well, I'm sure Google is happy with the idea that, it's one less company they have to compete with.
I don't think the phone market is particularly huge, as in the cell phones. They've definitely lost a lot of custom over here and wherever else they sold because you can't get any apps for them. But it's mostly the important, expensive stuff, like, the big stuff in the infrastructure.
Well, yeah, if they're making
stuff,
the antennas from the towers.
the stuff that makes things work, every piece of equipment is basically Huawei over here.
Yeah,
because it's so fucking cheap.
Expecting the whole country to replace all that in 7 years. Yeah.
It's a big fucking deal.
Well, that's just going to be a lot of man hours involved in replacing all that stuff. And, the company's just going to have to pass the cost on to their customers.
Like usual.
Well, this is, we've only got one company. Our telephone and our internet comes from one company. And they're not renowned for being non-cunts. So
sorry about that.
It will be bad. And and Huawei have been in this country for a long time. The 3G stuff is Huawei, the 4G stuff is Huawei. But because 5G, which is obviously a little bit more scarier because, it's sexy and stuff. But,
well, it'll give you cancer and turn you gay.
Yeah.
This is true, yeah.
I guess the whole replacing things isn't going to be that big of a deal for kicking them out. They were going to have to replace it anyway since people are burning down the towers.
But their equipment, the professional gear is so much more cheaper than the names that you will be familiar with that our people over here go for it. But you've got to then ask yourself, well, why is it so fucking cheap? Why are they so desperate for an entire country to be using just their equipment?
Well,
It's weird.
wouldn't you be? I mean, money.
Yeah, but like I said, they're also building our nuclear power stations.
Yeah. Well, and generally the components are so cheap just because the labor is so cheap. They're paying people like $2 a day.
And because they nick all the designs off other companies. And
Yep, and also because of the environmental regulations.
mm-hmm.
That's why all the electronics wind up getting recycled in China, because they don't care about how much shit people are dumping into the rivers.
I know. Oh, I've totally broken your stream again. I should have got coffee beforehand. I've gone and made everyone unhappy.
Yeah. I'm actually waiting for a French press in the mail right now. It's being delivered soon. Like, I have a coffee machine, but you can't make just one cup with it, and I never drink more than one cup in a day. So.
Oh, Christ. I must be on number 10 by now.
Yeah, I
It
don't
actually
drink coffee
started
at
to
all.
make me feel mildly ill if I drink too much, in a day.
Yeah, well, you went a couple of years without caffeine, right?
Yeah. Not that I didn't go a little bit hog wild when I could have it again.
Yeah. I have to feel that was, had to be awfully hard to avoid in the US.
Oh, is it ever? It's in just about friggin' everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's really bad is how much caffeine there is in chocolate. So I spent years not eating chocolate. I know some people would find that deeply offensive if they had to be forced to not eat chocolate.
I mostly use it medicinally.
Hmm.
No, it does seem to suppress the tics from the Tourette's. My fiance would notice that if I was ticking too much. She'd say, "Did you have any chocolate today?"
And did you?
Usually not if she was noticing it. Otherwise, I was really stressed.
Gotcha.
So I have a theory on why it works.
Is it a demon? A dancing demon?
No.
Oh.
Actually, some, chemical scientific thing.
Voodoo.
That they're not even quite sure what causes Tourette's, but the leading theory on that is that it's an excessive number of dopamine receptors in the brain.
Well, dopes are mean.
Yeah, so chocolate causes you to produce more dopamine. So I think if I have enough chocolate, it clogs up the excess receptors and I'm, operating at a more normal level.
I'll just do one more Huawei before I make my coffee, and then you can have fun until I come back. Because Hans just said something about
So
Apple.
you're saying you're coming back?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, yeah, he said we could have fun until he comes back, but not after that.
No, that's not allowed. No, fun is illegal now. That's official. I don't think I have to wear a mask while I'm streaming. I'm not sure on the rules.
I'm pretty sure you won't give anyone a computer virus.
Let me just do my serious thing. Apple is an American company that just uses cheap labor in China, whereas Huawei is a Chinese company that is in China, which means it's run by the Chinese government. So it's very, very different. And it's cheap because they make lots of cheap stuff and then flood a country with it. And then they've got lots of, what's the word I'm looking for? Secret powers. I'll go and make my coffee.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to see here. Compelled is asking about jumping in, so get a link to him.
Who is?
Compelled Unbeliever.
Oh. Wow. Did I ever mishear you? I thought you said Cavell wants in. I was like, who the frig is it?
Ah.
But, well, it turns out that I had misheard you.
How many coffees should I get?
12.
12, okay.
I never touch the stuff myself.
Really?
Yeah, I've never liked coffee.
Well, I never used to. And then I discovered how to. And it turns out that basically I have to put in enough sugar and non-dairy creamer to make it like palatable. It kills the bitterness that way.
Well, that's the way my mother drinks it too. My mother, it's like half a cup of milk and she pours the coffee on it.
Yeah. I mean, it might as well be hot chocolate when I'm done with it.
Yeah, I know part of it is my dad made horrible coffee, but I don't know, it just never appealed to me. I guess probably because of the bitterness.
Well, what I discovered was that I started drinking these iced vanilla coffee drinks, and that was sort of the gateway drug right there. So, because I'm a big old sucker for vanilla. I know some people are like, really? Because, I mean, chocolate tends to be the go-to for comfort foods, but oh my gosh, do I love vanilla. I'm not sure I want to put salt in my coffee, actually.
No, I know what she means, though, that, that there's a lot of recipes, and even with chocolate needs a little bit of salt in it. Because chocolate can also have a bitter edge.
Well, isn't that what the sugar's for?
Yeah, well, that's why we do the milk chocolate. Certainly if you get the darker chocolate and like the stuff that the Brits usually eat, that's like 80% cocoa, then that stuff tends to have a more bitter edge to it.
Yeah, there's a reason I don't usually eat the dark chocolate.
Oh, I like to mix it up, have some of each.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like dark chocolate when it's been sweetened properly, but I know these people are like, no, don't sweeten it at all. I want it to taste like I'm licking my gravel driveway. And I'm like, what the frig is wrong with you people?
Yeah. Yeah, some of the people in the UK get pretty negative about the American chocolate.
Yeah, well, but when I hear that, they're
Hershey's.
usually when I hear people get on the case of American chocolate, it's usually a texture thing more than the taste. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they seem to be more, on it having too much sugar. That's what I've heard the biggest complaint about it, that Americans put too much sugar in everything, which for the most part I have to agree with.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, it'd be nice if it was actually sugar and not, corn syrup.
Yeah.
But, well, not a lot you can do about that. Not unless you actually run a chocolate factory, and I'm just guessing here, but I suspect neither of us is Willy Wonka.
Nope, not last I checked.
I like being correct.
I don't see any orange people running around here, so.
What about Trump? Trump is just like an overgrown Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, I've never seen him in my home, fortunately.
Yes, nor have I. But then again, I've never seen anyone in your home. I'm not sure I've ever seen your home.
I don't know if you have or not. I have had the camera on a couple of times, but not very often.
Well, yeah, okay, I have seen that, but still. I mean, that just gets in the way of being funny.
Sorry, I tend to take things way too literally at first, and it takes me a while to realize sometimes that was joke,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's funny just to take everything literally and piss people off. But that's another thing.
I admit I've done exactly that. I freely admit this.
Yeah, Hans is saying about the fragrance. I have problems with it. All sorts of artificial fragrances trigger my allergies.
Wait a second, are we talking coffee or chocolate now?
Vanilla.
Really?
But yeah, if it's an artificial vanilla, it will trigger my allergies. But if it is real vanilla, it's okay.
Oh, well, okay then. I was going to say, because, man, it's hard to picture being like allergic to vanilla. But yeah, I mean, what is that stuff that they usually use, like vanillin or something?
Yeah, I don't know what they use.
Oh, man, I don't. Oh, well, whatevs. It's not important. But I'll never understand why people associate vanilla with being plain. Plain vanilla? No, it's not plain by any stretch. Ugh, humans.
Oh, this still only you two.
What were you expecting?
Well, Dave said you need a few minutes to get together here.
Oh, I thought you were expecting another guest, and I brought coffee as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dave said he'll be in a few minutes, though.
Dave is in critical cripple, Dave?
No, as in compelled unbeliever.
Oh, there are too many Daves and too many Jens in this scene. I can't keep track of who's who anymore.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of problems because everybody's got at least 3 or 4 names on the internet, so.
I don't. I mean, I've got 2, but one of them is my real name, so I don't think that counts.
Yeah, well, part of the reason I avoid using my real name is that there's a couple more of those too. So it's just easier if nobody knows my real name.
Really? How many Wilbur Blankenships can there possibly be?
Oh, hi, Angie.
I don't know why, but the
Did
name.
everybody see the flute video of Angie's new puppies?
The name Blankenship amuses the hell out of me, and I don't know why.
I don't know either. But it's as good as many others, and I don't know. Somehow it sounds like it's a military name, like it should be Lieutenant Blankenship.
I guess I can see that. Not 100% certain I agree, but I can see it.
Yeah, it's a German submarine commander. I think.
Doesn't sound very German, though.
Oh, I think it does.
Blankenship?
I'm not doing the accent. I think you can get arrested for that.
Yeah, I can see where Stool's going with that.
Well, I'm glad somebody can. Because I was completely lost.
You just don't recognize my accent now that I've had a shave.
You've had a shave? Get on camera, bitch. I want to see what your actual face looks like.
That just sounded wrong.
Without the mountain man beard.
No. I'm having coffee.
Oh. But at least it won't be getting caught in your chin pubes, this coffee.
This is true. My head's very cold, though. That was the first haircut I've had since July or August of last year.
Yeah, I don't get mine cut regularly, but it doesn't make much difference. My hair's just flat and stringy and just lays there and doesn't do anything anyway.
Man, I'll trade you. I am so sick to death of curly hair. And I know most people don't realize that's what I got, but it's what I got. Like if I let my hair do what it wants to without taking the flat iron to it, believe me, it looks like Weird Al Yankovic circa 1989.
Yep. One of my stepdaughters was like that. That was actually how we got to meet Weird Al, was after the concert. The promoter said, "Hey, you look like you're related," and waved us backstage.
Well, I would give so much to have straight hair. I want my hair to be the only straight thing about me.
Yeah, your problem is that you're not willing to accept the body that you were naturally given. See, you're fighting it.
Well, yeah. Wouldn't you?
Like you say, there's a lot of people who would love to have curly hair.
I'm sure there are, and they're welcome to it.
Probably not if they come in the night and duct tape you and shave it off.
Probably not. But, I'll treat anyone who wants curly hair and doesn't have it, but they do have stick straight hair that they can't do anything with, but it's super low maintenance. Come to me. I'll trade you.
Yeah. I guess I can get what you mean, because having to help my stepdaughter brush hers out at times. And there was one point where she did finally get sick of it and decided to have it buzzed real short.
I did that in high school, and it was a mistake.
Yeah, she decided it was a mistake too, but nothing you could do but wait a couple months for it to grow back.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't even want wavy hair, Tria. Like in the 80s with all the sort of new wave haircuts, and they had that one where it was just so straight that laser beams were jealous. See, it's not that curls need proper care. It's that I don't like curls at all. I want stick straight hair. I hate curly hair. With the white hot fury of 1,000 suns, I hate curly hair.
I'm sure that is coming from just years of frustration.
No, I hated it even as a small child. I hated it so much.
Yeah,
it's just so haphazard. You can't do anything with it.
Well, you can't do anything with mine either, so I think we're both actually wanting something more in the middle.
Well, no, actually. I mean, I would love hair that I can't do anything with, but lays flat. I would love that.
Yeah, no, I think Tria had it right. You want something that's got some body to it and some wave.
I don't.
Yeah, if it lays completely straight and you can't do anything with it, it looks blah. It's nothing.
Well, I like it. I think that completely
you need a
straight
jaunty
hair
hat.
is awesome.
Okay, there's still.
Oh, hey.
He's got a point. You need a jaunty hat.
You need a jaunty hat. A jaunty hat will fix everything.
Yeah, I would not want hair that, took any amount of real care. I do like the fact that I can basically just, brush it out and go with it. I don't have to do anything really to it.
Purple, if you could share this pic, that's what I want right there. That.
Okay, and even that has more body to it than mine does.
Well, okay, fine, but that's how straight I want my hair to be, body or no body.
Well, if you didn't have a body, what, you'd be a disembodied head floating about?
Don't make me come over there.
Yeah, it's too far. You couldn't drive it anyway.
Well, that's only because I don't have a vehicle.
Was the hair lady not going to turn around?
Well, what can you do? I mean, you lose a genetic lottery, you don't have to be happy about it.
Yeah, I think you're shaving your head.
That reminds me of an old joke about and it's a really old joke, you can tell because of the numbers in it, but like a guy goes into a barber and says, okay, how much for a haircut? Dude says like $2.50. And the guy says, okay, how much for a shave? And the barber says $1. And he's all right, shave my head. Well, okay, maybe it's not as great as I'd think, but it's got to be better than what I got now. Yeah, I don't want to use wigs because they can come off and you kind of have to wear them all the time if you don't want anyone to know that's what you're doing. And no, I'm not better off shaving my head bald. Like I said, I did that in high school and boy, was it ugly. So, yeah, I'm pretty much stuck either finding a way to actually have straight hair or I don't know what, but I know I don't like what I got.
Yeah, I've never shaved mine off, but my ex did convince me one time to just, go with the clippers and do it super short. And it's like, yeah, no, I should have never done that because that's when I lost my ponytail that hung down to my belt. And here, 12 years later, it still hasn't grown back to half that length.
I always wanted to have like one of those ponytails that goes down to your ass, but won't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, Angie, if you can give me any hints on that about, what I could use on my hair that would get it a little more body and get it to grow back longer. It just doesn't seem to go anywhere anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There are things I could mention that would mostly be jokes, and I don't want to because people will react weirdly to them, so I'll just shut up now. Like, for example, if this pandemic goes on for too much longer, I'll be able to braid my leg hair. I am not keeping myself kempt, is my point.
Do the
Yeah.
thing, do the long ponytail at the back thing.
I'd love to, but my hair is so damaged from taking a flat iron to it that it won't.
Then you can do the avatar sex thing.
Yeah, people keep talking about that, but they don't have sex with their ponytails. The ponytails create a psychic connection that makes sex cooler, but they don't have sex with their ponytails. Well, they don't. And respect the lore of a fictional world, damn you, or I'll find you and make you really unhappy that I did.
No, that's one fictional world I can't respect.
Really? I had a lot of fun with it.
I just didn't think much of the movie.
Well, it felt remarkably like a retelling of some other movie I've seen, but I can't remember which.
Hello.
Oh, well, how are you then? That good, huh?
So we were just talking about hair and Kate cursing her curly hair.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, let's put it this way: if someone offered me the chance to have straight hair, um, like, but I'd have to kill one of you to get it, nobody would be safe.
Yeah, Angie, the thing is that my hair used to get a lot longer, and it may just be age, but I was hoping there was something that I could grow it out more. Like I said, it used to be about twice as long as it is now.
But after you've killed us all, you'll be doing the avatar sex thing.
Yes, with mermaids.
Ugh.
What is it with you and mermaids these days, anyway?
Oh, I get bored.
Well, you know, it's just his orientation. He's not so big into the mermen.
Ethel Merman?
Oh dear.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, I feel like I've won every time I make Stool feel despair.
Howdy, did I make it in here?
Yep, we can hear you now. So what's up with you, Dave?
Well, actually, I'm kind of excited. I made a video, I don't know, a week and a half ago, responding to a preacher that was talking to his congregation. I don't think he really thought that anyone would see his video because it was meant for his congregation. It was called Don't Be a Practical Atheist. And basically, he was trying to tell his congregation, don't act like an atheist. And of course, I took issue with his definitions, and I felt that he misrepresented atheists. And so I made a video. It was a bit harsh. I will admit that. Anyway, so for whatever reason, he decided to open up some conversation, and it looks like we may be doing a stream discussing what I call the test for a false god. And so I'm very excited about that. I would like to talk with preachers and so forth, theologians, etc., about the theology of Christianity and the things within that theology that led to my unbelief. So I'm very excited about that. That's hopefully we'll get that set up maybe as early as tomorrow. It could be within the next week or two. So I'm really excited because I would like to do interviews in that way. I don't like the debate thing. For example, let's take Matt Powell. The kid's sharp, and in a debate, he would definitely just whoop my ass. But see, debates aren't about who is the most factual. It's about who is the most witty and able to talk fast on their feet. And it doesn't accomplish anything. I think it's something like 1% or something of people are ever swayed by a debate. But conversations are completely different. That's where you get understanding. And so I'm really excited to do that.
I tried to do that with someone once, but then he got like super disrespectful off camera. And so I told him to fuck off.
Yeah. I agree
Yeah,
with you
like
about
for
debates.
example, I had said to him, like we were discussing famous philosophers, and at one point I said to him, how do you know I don't have something to offer, that I can't bring something to the table? And he said, oh my God, you're so fucking arrogant. And I was like, yeah, you know, this notion that I could have nothing whatsoever to contribute, kind of insulting.
Yeah.
Well, and Kate, you probably get even worse than I do. Well, you're an atheist. You don't know anything about the Bible. You don't know anything about theology. You don't know any. You cannot be part of this conversation.
That has happened. And then when you prove to them that actually I've read at least enough of the Bible to know what the hell I'm talking about, they're like, okay, but you don't understand it as God intended or whatever. And it's like, okay, if you say so.
Right, and that's something that I try to address on my channel. And my response to that is, there's something like 20,000 Christian denominations, and none of the Christians can agree among themselves what is the correct translation, our doctrine, what have you. So the other thing is, frankly, let's take the Adam and Eve story, the creation story. Jesus and God decide to create Adam and Eve. Eve eats an apple, Satan comes in, and then we have we original sin. Well, the problem is none of that is in Genesis. Us is not defined. That goes back to the polytheistic aspects of Judaism, and it was polytheistic. It wasn't an apple. Satan wasn't in the garden. It was a talking snake. And original sin hadn't been thought of yet. So what Christians do is that they go to church, they get a dogma, a specific dogma to that particular denomination or sect. And then as they read the Bible, they read Jesus into the Old Testament. They read the Trinity into the Bible. They read original sin into the Bible. They read purgatory, the rapture, etc. Things that are modern dogma that never were in the Bible. So when you have that mindset and you're trying to reaffirm your beliefs, you read into the Bible things that the authors not only didn't intend, but they never thought of. So when they try to say you can't understand the Bible, well, actually, my argument is it's actually easier for someone outside of that dogma to understand it with the historical background, literary background, etc., than it is one that is in the religious dogma.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, it's still open to interpretation. I've had arguments with atheists who didn't agree on what this, that, or the other passage was trying to say.
Exactly, and that's my point. That's
Yeah.
my point. We can't know what the original authors intended, particularly when you take the context of why they were writing it and so forth. The whole idea, for instance, of I just kind of lost my train of thought. I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but it is absurd for them to say that it's, God's perfect book, and yet there are thousands of different interpretations of it.
And
Well, not only that,
translations and blah de blah de blah.
there's at least 7 biblical canons that are in use today. Now, the biblical canon there's different books that are compiled and put together. Like there's, I think it's 66 books for the Protestant Bible, and I think it's like 73 for the Catholic Bible. And there's various numbers of books in this biblical canon that are all called the Bible. So when someone says the Bible, my first question is, which one?
Well, to buy the Bible, you have to buy bull. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, they don't seem to agree on, well, so many things. But like, I'm sure there's sects out there who go, well, that part's apocryphal, while others go, no, that's the basis of our entire belief.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's take Catholicism, you have this deep belief, and some people call it worship, and some people believe it's praying to. It's really not praying to Mary. It's kind of asking her to be your lawyer or word attorney, whatever have you, the intercessory between God. Same thing with the saints and so forth. But that whole fixation on Mary actually comes from documents that are not in the Bible. There are other Christian documents that are outside of the Bible. And what
Yeah.
happened was eventually the Catholic Church said, well, all these books that mention this and that about Mary and so forth, because she actually worked miracles and so forth, and she almost was godlike. So they said, okay, we're going to trash this. This isn't necessarily inspired of God. But what they did is they kept the earlier traditions of Mary. And that stayed with the religion, and that's why we have I'll call it fixation. I don't mean to sound that harsh, but that's why the Catholic Church has such a different view and bestows so much honor upon Mary, whereas a lot of the others do not.
Well,
They just simply have retained those traditions.
I was born in the Catholic Church, and even as a young child, that's one of the things I found confusing, was that Mary was basically elevated to almost the same class as Jesus, and at the same time we were being told women were worthless.
Oh yeah, well, in some of the non-canonical scriptures, literally it says swaddling clothes. Basically, it was Jesus's dirty diapers, and she would send those off, and people would be healed with that. And, so there was all kinds of crazy things that went on, but those traditions were retained by the Catholic Church, even though the books were rejected.
But, the thing I find very difficult to understand when it comes from religious people is this desperate need to deny yourself things, like especially stuff like food or sex, for example, going on fasts and like deciding, oh, I'm going to live a life of celibacy in the name of the Lord and all this shit. And I'm like, why do you people hate fun?
Well, what this boils down to is basic cult dynamics. Now, I'm not suggesting that every religion is a cult, but basically all religions, if you look at the bite model and so forth, they will have aspects of that fit into the bite model, and what you're fasting, withholding of sex and so forth, what that is designed to do is to force you to be more focused on said religion.
Well, I mean, I know that, but like whenever I see people doing one form or another of self-flagellation and they think that this proves their loyalty to God or some shit, I'm like, does it though? I mean, it just, humans seem to love pain, whether it comes from religion or not. Humans love to wallow in pathos and ennui, and I just don't get it.
When I was a Christian, actually, I went through a lot of fasting and so forth, and isolation prayer and so forth. And for me, I literally was seeking God. I wanted to know who God was. And for me, it really wasn't about what anybody else thought or not. I was just trying to do the right thing, and none of it worked.
I don't know. It's just also strange to me. Maybe it's just because I was raised without religion, but there's so many things where like I bring them up to people, and a lot of them are like, I never noticed that about this thing I believe wholeheartedly. It's just so weird.
The fasting thing is bizarre to me because, like Kate, I was never brought up with this fucking nonsense. But where I live, there are a lot of religion of peace type folk, and the fasting is it's insane, because if you know how that shit works, they can't eat until the sun goes down. Yeah, it's not a certain time, it's when the sun physically is at a certain height.
Okay, that makes sense for when the Bible was written, because they didn't have any kind of clocks. So basically,
these aren't the Bible
sun was the
people.
only way to measure time.
These aren't the Bible people, are they? These are the other ones.
No, but that's when the scriptures they're going by were written.
Well, I can't remember when clocks were invented now. I'm a dick. But anyway, we're talking about the book that was written 600 years after the Bible one. But because I live near lots of takeaways, as soon as that sun hits a certain level in the sky, fucking hell, it's like a stampede. All down to the bloody takeaways.
Yeah.
And you've got to think, what have you achieved? You've been hungry all day. What have you fucking achieved?
Oh, totally agree. It's like when Muslims fast for a month during Ramadan or whatever. It's like,
This is what I'm talking about. And it goes on for a month. And you can't get to some of these takeaways because there'll be cars parked forever. Just because the sun is at a certain height. And even worse, I had to work at a place where there were lots of people of such faith who were starving themselves all day long. And so they couldn't work and they would fall asleep because they had no energy. They're also popping outside to smoke various things and ingest other things. So yeah, how does that work? By ingest, I mean whatever you do, snort it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, how does that fit in with your book? That doesn't make sense to me. And you're sleeping while you're supposed to be working. And if I do that, I get a twatting.
Yeah, this is one I have wondered about. If they go by sunup and sundown, what if you're up in Scandinavia?
Well, that whole thing about how like Jewish people aren't supposed to operate any kind of electronic device for a while, and so they come up with these weird, elaborate ways of getting around it.
Yeah.
It's just so bizarre. And so many of these rules, like, oh, you're this religion, so you have to wear this style of clothing kind of shit. And I'm like, why not just join a frat or something if that's how much you love all of this ritual and crap?
Yeah, well, and like the thing about not operating electrical devices and that usually comes down to them either, finding something that it's like by the letter of the law, but not by the spirit, or having someone else do it for them.
And I don't get it. Like there are so many better things in life to use your energy with, on which to expend your energy. Why this?
It is ludicrous. That's why I just can't be asked even getting into any kind of. I mean, why try and explain to somebody that it's all complete bullshit?
Well, when I was a little kid, they'd still send you to hell for eating meat on Friday.
I mean, I can think of some reasons to engage with these people, but it's mostly, hey, leave me alone. I'm not hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the ritual thing is concerned, human beings just love rituals. I mean, you have football games in the military. When I was in the military, oh my God, I hated the rituals. You'd be standing out there on the cement grinder or parking lot, if you wish, and it's 100 degrees. You're standing at attention, and you have these upper echelons, the colonels, whatever, giving these long speeches. And I remember thinking, you know what? I just want to get the hell out of here, but I'm kind of an exception. I do not particularly care for ritual at all. However, it's a human thing. People really do like rituals. So naturally, whenever you bring any group together, there is going to be ritual. When you add religion to it, it's going to be emphasized, and then it's going to become a very emotional thing, and it's going to be called spiritual.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's ritual and there's ritual. I mean, you mentioned like sporting events and that kind of thing. I mean, those are just for fun. But in religion, the ritual, like it's almost like they're trying to cast some sort of spell or some shit. I mean, it's just
Yeah, there's a big difference between. I mean, if you really need to do it, do it. Go to church every Sunday, whatever. Just
Oh,
keep
I don't know
keep it
about
yourself.
that. I don't
But
think
yeah,
there's that big of a difference because even
I
like,
think there's a difference between that and starving yourself every day for a month.
yeah, but I mean,
And,
even
and
things
then at
like,
the end
the
of that
sports
day,
teams and that, they will
at the,
ostracize people from the group if they don't follow the rituals.
yeah, but it's
I
the
don't know.
weirdness. You've starved yourself every day, and you do that for a month, and at the end of each of those days, you rush to the takeaway and pig out. I mean, what has that achieved? It's just silly and nonsense.
Yeah.
And these are not people. I get the thing about ritual, but I've heard these people, young people, and they don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
I've heard
studied
them
ritual.
saying, I've heard
I
them
studied
saying,
ritual
we
quite a
have to
lot,
do so much.
especially
I'd like
through the
to.
pagan's perspective, and it's like, yeah, a lot of it was silly. A lot of it made no sense. So yeah, there are a couple of like personal rituals I have, but any kind of ritual that's being dictated for a group of people, no.
I'd like to touch on something that Kate said. She said, if I recall correctly, that it was almost like they were trying to cast a spell or something. Let me back up to when I was about 15 years old. I was with this church group. We went up in the mountains. I live in Colorado, and we went to this very, very isolated. We had to hike up to this isolated plateau, and there's a bunch of kids there, and the preacher said, "Okay, now everyone, get real silent. Just close your eyes. Contemplate God." And what he did is he instructed us on how to put ourselves in a trance. And I didn't realize this at the time, what was going on. And I did. It worked. And it was a very emotive, spiritual experience that I had. Moving forward, as I started to study cults and ancient cults and so forth, you had a lot of the platform monks or what have you. They did just exactly that. So what I found out was that spiritual experience I had is common with any religion. In fact, it doesn't even have to have religion. You can put yourself into that spiritual trance. And when we go to church and so forth, the songs and so forth do just exactly that. What has also been found out is that the same thing can happen with a nice, cool, maybe soft, slow, emotional song at a rock concert.
Yeah, but again, I mean, it's the purpose, the reason you're doing it that seems to change it. I mean, because
Absolutely.
like if I were to go to say the Rocky Horror Picture Show, let's say, and I do all the callback lines and stuff, it's just for fun, it's just for entertainment. But I don't believe that I can heal anybody by doing the time warp.
Why not? What's wrong with you?
Because it's but I mean that's the thing is like you get those football players or whatever who thank God for their team's victory, and it's like, so the players had nothing to do with it. You guys weren't the instruments of your own victory. It was all God. But then, why is it that none of them say, oh crap, we lost, I guess God likes the other team better?
Well, and there's always the contradiction that probably both teams said a prayer before they went out on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I just made a video about Matt Powell concerning that. He made a video about how he met his wife and so forth, and basically he flew to Arizona to see Steve Anderson, and he met this girl. He was about to get on this plane, and he prayed to God, please, somehow, I just got to meet this girl again. I got to see her again. And there just happened to be this huge snowstorm that that delayed the flight for 3 days, and he was able to court the girl. He got married. He gave God the full credit for this miracle, for answering his prayer. So I looked it up, and 3 people froze to death due to that storm. So Matt was said this prayer, and God answered it. And the way God answered that was by murdering 3 people. Now, of course, he didn't look at it this way, but when you go to the football games and so forth, they're like what Kate was saying, if you pray for one team, then the other team loses. And that's kind of what happened in this case. Matt Powell prayed for the storm essentially to come, or for God to make it so that he could stay and visit this girl. And God killed 3 people in order to answer Matt Powell's prayer. So a lot of times prayers, if they are answered, could be potentially very harmful to other people.
And yet all I can think about is that poor woman married Matt Powell.
Well, he says he's married. Have we ever seen her?
Oh, she's beautiful. She is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, she is indoctrinated. I've been kind of thinking about making a video about this. What one needs to understand is that a woman's place in a church like that, I was a fundamentalist. I came from a very, very, very similar church to Matt Powell, and that's why I've always been so interested in him. She has a certain place. Okay, the way that he courted her, and he explains it in the video, step by step, he had to do specific things and react and act in a certain way. She had to react in a certain way. It was all very ritualistic. It was like as if by a script. And particularly as a preacher, you have to go by the script. So what she is discovered now, that it's been several months, that she has specific duties and she has to do specific things and act in a certain way as a preacher's wife. Primarily shut the fuck up, and always agree with and support her husband and smile and look pretty. I know that sounds horrible, but I've lived this life, and it is exactly what happens. So she has essentially written away her identity as an individual person. She will always be Matt Powell's wife, not oh gosh, I can't remember her name. It's I can't.
Doesn't matter. She doesn't have one anymore.
And it doesn't even matter. Yeah, her name doesn't even matter. She's Matt Powell's wife. Period.
Yep.
And I feel so horrible for her because she's just a young, innocent, naive girl that is going to live her life in a very hard way.
Well, I'd like to see this address. What Amiga Nuts is asking: what is spiritual? How would you define that?
Oof, not sure I would, but I wanted to touch on something before we change subjects.
Okay.
Except I don't remember what it is now because I just
Was it your ponytail?
About Matt Powell and what his wife had to
Matt
accept?
Powell and his wife, but it was something about like maybe someday she'll have some sudden oh, I remember what it was. You know, Girl Defined. Those two.
I love them.
well, but the thing is that like one of them decided, oh, I'm totally saving myself for marriage. Like she didn't even kiss her fiance or something until they got married. And then when they finally had sex, both of them were virgins. And she got on camera and started like reporting what it was like. And it sounded like she went, well, it was good. Like she didn't really want to say it was terrible and shame her husband or something, but it sure sounded like she thought it was terrible.
Well, actually, let me speak on that a little bit. I was terrified of sex as a fundamentalist. Of course, I played with myself all the time and I felt guilty for it. But they get themselves so worked up about sex that they can't enjoy their natural tendencies as a human being. and there gets to be so much baggage that I made a Reverend Faithful video about that, which is a character I have about what is.
Oh God, he creeps me out.
He creeps me out. That's why I did it. He's based on my kind of based on my cousin and other just preachers that I've seen in the past. But anyway, what's okay and what's not okay in the marriage bed, and it's a complete satire. But what the point I'm trying to drive home is how creepy and how difficult it is for a Christian to have sex. I mean, there's technically the Bible, and this is the point. DJ Flattard, Black Sopa helped me in that video, and his character basically was supposed to be a doctor or whatever. And what he said was, you can do anything you want to once you're married. And it's true. You literally can do anything with your spouse that you want to. If she wants to peg a guy with a strap on, that's totally okay. But in the theology of religion, the dogma of Christianity does not always align with the Bible. I was just working on a video tonight. If you were to take the Bible and let's just say there's some group of some tribe of people that have not been associated with the outside world and they knew nothing about Christianity. If you gave them a Bible translated into their religion and that's all they had, they literally could not possibly come up with the rites, rituals, the understandings, the dogma of Christianity. You cannot extrapolate that from the Bible. The reason is because the culture, the dogma gets a life of its own, and the beliefs in that dogma get a life of its own. And then what they do is they refer back to specific passages to back up their dogma. However, if you were to take the Bible itself and try to come up with that same dogma just by looking at the Bible itself, you could not come up with that dogma. You could not come up with the beliefs that Christians have today.
Well, I know that there are people who say that sex is a matter of control, that making you feel guilty for touching yourself or whatever is like on purpose, because the more you feel guilty, the more you go back for absolution. And because it's a natural human instinct, you keep on doing it. So you keep needing absolution for this horrible sin you just committed. And it's like, that feedback loop keeps people in the church kind of thing. Now, I don't know if that's true, just because it feels like it's giving the religion too much credit. Like, I'm not sure that the people who wrote those passages in the Bible, and I do believe there's some in the Bible specifically regarding sex, I'm sure, one or two. I doubt the people who wrote those were thinking, this is a good way to manipulate the proles. I don't think they were that smart.
Well, I think the whole thing of marriage and, sex in religion was largely about property inheritance. It was to make sure they could be certain of whose son whose father was the son and so forth.
Hey, can I interrupt you, Purple, real quick?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'd like
go
to
ahead.
touch on what Kate was saying, because it's an excellent point. The most underrated or unknown book in atheism is called The God Virus from Daryl Ray. It is a absolute must read because it explains just what Kate was saying about the loop, the guilt loop. I feel guilty because I played with myself, so I go back to the God, and then I get repentance, and then I go back and I masturbate again. Then I go back to my religion even more because I feel guilty, and it's an endless cycle that glues people, that gets people stuck into religion. And he also goes into how and why religions conduct their religious services exactly the way they do. And I just made a video, I think it was yesterday, about my cousin who was kind of a mega evangelist. And I literally, after I had witnessed this and I had seen what my cousin had done. And then when I read Daryl Ray's book, it was like, yeah, that's exactly how he did it. And step by step, it was exactly how my cousin, the charlatan, stole money from people.
Yeah, it just looking at it all from the outside, it just boggles the hell out of me that anyone would participate in any of this ever in any way, shape, or form. I don't understand it.
But
in my defense, I was actually given a King James Bible at 6 years old. I couldn't read, and I don't know how I was supposed to understand early middle English either, but I was indoctrinated, from birth. And
Yeah.
so I literally did not know any better. It wasn't until I got in the military and I saw all these different people with these different beliefs that I said, whoa, wait a minute, what is going on here? And that's when I really began to question things. And that's what I became even more religious at that point in time. And I studied the Bible even more because I was having doubts, once again, referring to the loop that Kate was speaking of. And eventually, as I studied the Bible on my own, I came to understand, well, as Christopher Hitchens put it, atheism is not chosen, it is discovered. And I discovered that I no longer believed.
I have to disagree with that, though, because speaking as someone who was never religious, ever, atheism for me was the default. And frankly, I think it is for everybody. They just don't realize it because they get indoctrinated young.
Well, that's why I think the default is whatever you're taught before you're 5 years old.
Well, that's the thing, though. I wasn't taught atheism either. I mean,
but
my
you
mom
weren't
is
taught any
culturally-
religion.
What?
You weren't taught any religion, and atheism is really the lack of a religion.
Right, but I wasn't taught atheism either.
Right, but you weren't taught anything else. Most people are taught something else from day one. So for them, that becomes the default because that's the only thing they know.
But that's not a default. That's something that's been learned.
Okay, let me jump in this real quick. I spent 6 months studying this because I was kind of in the default kind of position. A baby is born and knows nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is what that baby is taught. Now, there is no default for atheism because atheism, like Kate explains it better than anyone in the world, atheism. How would you phrase that?
Not
Kate?
a theist. You see those
Not
people
a
over there
theist.
believing in at least one God? I'm not one of them. That's all that's required for atheism.
Right. And so one cannot be a atheist without being taught theism.
No, I disagree. I 100% disagree. Because
I'm with Kate on this one.
If you have no religion whatsoever, you're an atheist. If religion was never invented, you're an atheist. The only way to not be an atheist is to be a theist. That is the single solitary manner in which someone can be not an atheist. Atheism is the default.
Okay, I kind of agree with you here, but what I'm trying to say is that if there was no theism at all on the planet, it was never ever heard of, then there would never be a position, a title, or anything for atheism because it would be a non-issue. That's what I'm saying. But you are correct. You are correct that if that dogma doesn't exist, then you would be a theist. You would not believe in that thing. But do you kind of understand where I'm coming from on that?
I mean, I do, but I it's just that you know, I've been on YouTube talking about atheism for a very long time, and I'm constantly dealing with people, including atheists, who insist that no, you have to choose atheism. It has to be a reaction to theism, that nobody is born an atheist, you're just born nothing at all, that atheism is a claim that has to be defended rather than I'm just not part of this thing.
And you're absolutely 1000% correct there. You really are. It just, I don't even know why people have to go into this argument. Really, it's kind of a waste of time, I think.
See, that's the problem. It's not a waste of time because people use this to dismiss atheists. People use this to like hell, I think it was my very most recent video where was it Billy Lane Craig was trying to say that atheism is a knowledge position, thus giving atheists something to defend, which means that theists just don't want to be in the hot seat. They don't want to be playing defense all the time. That's the problem, is that they want a level playing field, but it's not level. This playing field is not level, and it's never going to be, no matter how much they kick and scream and bitch and moan.
I want to jump in here and thank you, Kate. So we have slightly different positions here, but you are not wrong. And we can have a conversation about this. And I wish that you could have conversations with theists concerning this, and that I could have conversations like we're having with theists, and that just doesn't seem to be possible. And
well, I mean, it's difficult enough with atheists too. I've had some knockdown, drag-out fights just on this issue with other atheists that have occasion ended up with friendships completely ruined. It's a pain in the ass, but I mean, you've managed to help keep it civil. I'd like to think I have too. And while we may not be 100% on the same team, it's good to have a healthy discussion like this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know, I'm going to speak for you. That's what you are about. That's what your channel's about. I've watched you for years, and I just wish there were more people like that out there.
Well, you know, I really try, and it doesn't always work out because, let's face it, I have a tiny bit of a temper and very little patience for fools. But, you know, I mean, I do my best. I don't know.
Maybe if you grew a ponytail.
I have. I mean, recent videos, I definitely have my hair pulled back.
No, a big long one.
Well, if I had one, I'd totally do it.
Well, it's the curly hair.
Oh,
Kate just can't think right because her hair is too curly.
Yeah, that's definitely what happened. Yeah, I agree.
Actually, Kate, you would hate my hair. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos, but sometimes if I take a shower, if I just kind of scrunch my hair, then it's really, really curly. But if I brush it out, it's straight as can be. So in my videos, my hair is like in all kinds of different formations and so forth, because I just happen to have the right kind of hair that it just does whatever the heck I want it to.
What I wouldn't give. But like when I try to do anything to my hair other than let it do what it wants to, honestly, it looks like an explosion in a Velcro factory. If Purple could share this picture right here.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. I think I might want to put that as a screensaver.
Yeah,
But,
again,
seriously.
Yeah, you had the same kind of hair as one of my stepdaughters, because hers would do that if it was too humid.
Like,
Actually,
okay, let's put it this way.
technically-
All I have to do is put on glasses and go back to high school, and I'll be that girl who gets transformed into a princess later where they tame her hair and give her contact lenses. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Actually, believe it or not, I can do that when I get out of the shower. If I just, I don't know, pick my hair or whatever, lean so my hair's upside down and just kind of pick it out. It will do just that exact thing. I thought about making a video like that for fun, but it looks so damn ridiculous that I just decided not to.
Well, I would give so much to have straight hair. I would sacrifice the lot of you for straight hair. You know, I mean, I don't care if it's Beelzebub, Cthulhu, or Mumbo Jumbo, Monkey God of the Congo. If I'm offered straight hair, I'm taking it.
Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I am
willing to make.
I should know what that's from. That sounds really familiar.
It's from Shrek.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I don't know. It reminds me of the whole "the peasants are revolting" thing.
Yep. They've always been revolting. Yes, but now they're rebelling as well.
Yeah. I don't know. That amuses me.
Yep.
But then again, you know I'm one for puns.
No, I would have never guessed.
You're very punny.
Yeah, well, you know me. I try to be a pundit, but my puns are pungent, and I should probably be punched or punted, punished somehow, sent to the penitentiary.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah,
There, see, you're getting all kinds of advice on
keeps
your hair.
saying I should buzz my hair. It looks ridiculous on me. It really does. So, I mean, let's put it this way. With my head shaved, I make Ripley in Alien 3 look attractive.
Hey, she was kind of hot.
I have
Okay,
to say, I've
fine. I
seen
make
a
her look
couple.
like Miss America.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of women with shaved heads that still look pretty hot.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wouldn't have thought it was
but I'm not
something I
one of
would have
them.
ever gotten into, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had a couple of exes with buzz cuts, and on some of them it worked. On some of them, boy, did it
Dead
ever
air.
not. But one of them had brain surgery, much more extensive than mine, and she shaved her head down like proudly to show the scars.
mhm.
So,
No, I can get into that. I mean, there's definitely something to, owning it when you have, a flaw that tends to put people off, but you don't want to be put down by it.
yeah. Well, and I mean, my own brain surgery, there's no scar there. They made this tiny, tiny, tiny little hole. Like, rather than slicing open my scalp and then cutting off a chunk of skull to expose the brain, they just used like a small drill and then stuck a laser in there. So, yeah, I don't even have the thrill of like a battle wound. Look at what I did and survived. It's just like when I thought I felt the scab back there after it was over, turns out that was the stitches.
Yep.
It's like if I shaved my head, you wouldn't be able to find the surgical site.
Yeah, it is amazing what they're able to do now with surgery and just inserting tiny cameras and things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems wacky to me that it took 8 freaking hours, but I guess I'm glad they were careful.
Yeah, well, especially messing with your brain.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, there's other bits of me they can cut into that aren't quite so delicate.
Yeah. I mean, I got nervous about that just when they were doing my hernia, and that's, about as far away from my head as you could get.
And now I have a Weird Al song in my head.
Okay, keep it there. No,
Living
I like
with
Weird
a
Al.
hernia. No?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I thought everyone knew. I had seizures for about 8 years. Turns out something in my head went pop and created a hole, but the technical term is a cavernous malformation. It was a fucking hole. And that hole would fill up with stuff And if I ever got stressed too bad, or like I ate something that was a vasoconstrictor, it would make my entire brain clench. And so that hole would release everything that was in it as it got squeezed, and my brain would flood and overload with chemicals. And I mean, when I started knowing what caused it, it would just be absence seizures. But for a while there, I was having the full-on grand mal where I'd pass out. There was once, and I don't know if you want me to show the pictures of the bruise, but there was once I face planted right on the sidewalk, directly in front of an ambulance. But for like a week after, I had this gigantic purple mark that looked like domestic violence right on my face.
Yeah, when I was growing up, one of the boys who lived across the street from us had epilepsy. So he would always come and stay over at our house because somebody had to be there with him, until his parents got home.
Okay, I don't know if you folks can see this, but right here on my head, I've got a scar. And I had childhood epilepsy, and I fell on my face all the damn time.
I did that to my tongue once during a seizure, and that was deeply unpleasant because I wasn't thinking about it and ended up like drinking some like lemonade almost immediately after, and holy fucking shit, that hurt. So yeah, seizures were no fun. I'm going to spare you the picture after that tongue thing happened where my cheek is like literally drenched in blood from it. I'll just spare you that one. But still.
Dave, if you wanted to show off your scars, I could highlight you now. I just, Kate was talking about her pictures there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it can actually be seen very well because let's see, I think my last seizure, I was about 12. But at one point in time, one time I fell and I could literally see my skull. It was bad.
Yeah, that sounds unpleasant. Never do that again.
Well, luckily I grew out of it. So since post-surgery now, have you had any seizure activity?
No, actually,
Awesome.
I'm like for a couple of days afterward, I might get a tiny twinge. And you will, if you've had the kinds of seizures I had, you will never forget the feeling of a seizure coming on. It's very distinctive. But no, I mean, after like a week or two, I stopped feeling quite so weak. But also those little twinges went away. And since then, aside from the occasional moment of deja vu, which was a symptom, but could happen on its own anyway, there have been no lasting effects post-surgery.
I was really lucky. My son was not. He had childhood epilepsy also, and he did have the grand mals. I primarily had just my right leg that would become paralyzed, and I only really noticed it while I was walking. And so as I would put my left foot forward and put weight on it, I would start to bring my right foot forward, and all of a sudden it just wasn't there. It was completely paralyzed. I remember I told my parents, I was like, well, my leg wasn't there, because they'd asked me, why I fell, and I said my leg wasn't there. Well, I couldn't describe to them, my leg is paralyzed. So they just looked at me and laughed and said, well, put it there next time.
Well, I kind of know what you mean, because I tried to explain to people a while back what seizures felt like the absence seizures, where I was only kind of conscious, but still conscious for it. And the way I described it was it felt like an orgasm that was past its expiration date. And nobody understood it. They gave me this weird look, and I'm like, imagine an unpleasant orgasm. That's what it's like. I mean, obviously there's nothing going on with your junk, but still it has that sort of head rush feel to it. You know what I'm talking about?
No, actually I do not. I have no idea. For me, it was just my leg became paralyzed.
No. I mean, you know what I'm talking about when I describe an orgasm, the head rush from an orgasm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's what my seizures felt like, is like that, but wrong.
Mhm.
Like it just felt so sick. But yeah. Also, I had a moment once where when it was over, I suddenly realized, oh, I was the crazy person on the bus, because I was having an absence seizure and was like walking up and down the bus going, where's my backpack? where's my backpack? And I hadn't brought it with me at all. So, later I go back thinking about it going, oh gosh, I was the crazy person.
Yeah, my son, one of the first things that you could tell with him is he could not speak. I remember one day I was at the computer, and my son just comes up to me and he's just pulling on my arm and pulling on my arm. I'm like, yeah, what? He's pulling on my arm. Well, yeah, what? He's pulling. And finally, I'm like, Cade, what is going on? And he looks at me and he puts his arms out in front of me and he's just flailing his arms and shaking his head. And then I said, oh, shit. Because I finally realized that he was having a seizure and he was trying to tell me this, but he could not tell me.
Well, there is footage on my channel of me having a seizure. Like, it's actually hospital camera footage. They had EEG stuff all over my head, and they were measuring what my seizures, like what was going on in my head during the seizures. And so I had never seen me having a seizure. I didn't know what it looked like from the outside. What it looks like more than anything else is like I'm trying to conduct an orchestra with a mouthful of peanut butter, because I'm waving one hand back and forth rhythmically and making these chewing motions. And that's what it looked like, was conducting an orchestra with a mouthful of peanut butter.
I got to admit, I was very upset. There was a live stream where you had a seizure, and obviously you don't remember the seizure itself, but you know about it, and you saw the footage and everything. And I recognize it as I saw it, because I trained myself due to my son, and it was just so disappointing because if I remember correctly, they started kind of heckling you. And it just really it bothered me. I think they realized it later, but
that was the one where I finally decided that Steve McRae was a butt munch, because he completely ignored it 100%. And I was like, really? I don't know. I just,
yeah. I wasn't watching that live, but when I saw the footage of that, it was very disturbing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well,
so
I'm glad.
I don't know how
God
I would
healed
define
you,
spirituality, Purple. It's sort of nebulous. It's in that I'll know it when I see it category.
I just want to say, praise God that God healed you and the surgeons had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. It was definitely not the surgeons or my neurologist or the state of California paying for it or any of that stuff. It was totally God.
That probably is the thing about religion that got to piss me off the most, was all the times I was in the emergency room with my fiance and hearing somebody saying, praise God that they saved him. And it's like, really, you're just going to dismiss the entire hospital staff.
Yeah. And I wonder who they would have thanked if you'd died.
There was an episode of MASH that Potter was saying that, yeah, when they live, he gets the credit. When they die, you get the blame.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, man. I'm so sick and tired of dealing with fools. But they're everywhere.
Fucking surrounded by the bastards.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if I may change the subject, something very odd happened to me the other day. On my channel, I got some comments. I'm not going to say who from. And it said, hello, this is your cousin. And this cousin I have not met on purpose, on in person. I didn't actually even know he existed, to tell you the truth. He got a hold of, somehow we met on Facebook and we've corresponded for a couple of years. Well, anyway, so I went to this channel and I found out that he had an atheist YouTube channel. And I thought it was very, very bizarre, because this is my uncle's son. And he moved to back east. Their family, that part of the family did. And I thought it was extremely bizarre. And it was actually very affirming for me, because I thought, wow, I'm such an idiot. I maybe I'm just exaggerating here, that and maybe I'm just going overboard in response to how religious my family was, that I not only am an atheist, but now I've started this atheist YouTube channel, and come to find out my cousin who had a atheist YouTube channel also. So that I was very, very happy to see that. I was kind of vindicated to know that, okay, you know what? There are two people in the same family that's extremely religious that didn't know it, but both started atheist YouTube channels. The reason I'm not going to mention this channel yet is because he is not out with the family yet, except for there's a couple of atheists in the family that I think are aware. So I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, part of my family, like my dad's side of the family, is pretty Catholic, not just Catholic, Sicilian Catholic. And yeah, I mean, most of them haven't mentioned my atheist YouTube channel. Only my Uncle Bruce did, and he was really, really close to becoming a preacher when he met my Aunt Michelle. So he asked me why I was arguing against religion, and I mentioned what I always mention, is that religious people have this tendency to use religion as an excuse to be real assholes, you know. And I forget if I actually said to him that like if they can share and play nicely with the other kids, I'll shut up, kind of thing. But it's what I meant. And he seemed receptive to that. He seemed to go, oh, okay, gotcha. Sure, no problem. But at first I thought he was going to like totally get on my case for it. But it seemed like he just wanted to understand.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was kind of bizarre, and I felt so much better about having my channel. I didn't feel like such a freak, you know, finding out that my cousin actually had a atheist channel.
Well, believe me, that is not the reason you're a freak.
Very true.
Oh man. I don't know. Like, do you think there's anything actually wrong with being abnormal?
Absolutely not. Alan Turing was not normal by any means. He was a social outcast. He was an introvert. He was awkward with any kind of social situation, and we would not be here speaking today if it was not for him.
I'm going to need you to rewind that for a second. Who are we talking about?
Alan Turing.
Oh, Turing.
Or Turing.
That's not what I heard. I heard Turek, and I'm like, is this some relative of Frank's that I don't know about?
I probably said it wrong.
Well, still, you can understand my confusion.
Sure. But I believe that there has to be different people in the world in order for us to advance as a species.
Well, but I'm not even really necessarily talking about people being different so much as odd.
Well, I fit the odd department.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I like being weird. I just wish that weird didn't have a stigma.
Yeah, I could never figure out how to be normal, so
Well, I mean, normal's pretty boring when you think about it.
I expect so. Like
Well,
I said, I couldn't do it if I tried.
Like, as much as we're kind of obligated to hate J.K. Rowling these days, I feel like I'm surrounded by the Dursleys everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
I find that little analysis of Alan Turing to be quite interesting, because obviously I'm British. So there were reasons that he was a bit quiet.
Yeah.
And a bit of a loner. And he did end up, because we were twats in those days, and he did end up in prison for being the way he was. And he did have to accept being chemically castrated.
I'm Welsh, and I study history and so forth. And Americans have definitely been assholes. The British set the stage. There is a lot of aloof thinking and so forth, which now in America is this God and country movement, this manifest destiny crap that we have borrowed and continued. In fact, the British now are very open compared to how they used to be, and Americans with this evangelical manifest destiny Trump crap are becoming worse and worse. So I wish we would mature and grow up like the British did. And like I said, I am Welsh by heritage, and it's not that too far distance. So I am, in a sense, picking on myself, both as a hereditary Brit and a American.
Well, I have to admit, like, whenever I see one of those memes that says how Americans see themselves, and then how the rest of the world sees them, and then how they really are, I actually get kind of angry about that, because I'm like, you realize you're only describing the right wing, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're ashamed of those people too. You do realize that, but apparently they don't. Or they
Well,
don't
that's
care.
why
Maybe they don't care. I don't know.
that's why
Well,
I
I
wind up
think there's
pointing out so much that, America pretty much has like 6 distinctive regions which really have no relation to each other.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
did
there's
you
a
know
lot of.
that, like, we've heard of the Bible Belt and the Rust Belt. Did you know that the Borscht Belt is actually a thing?
I don't know what that is.
I've heard
Well,
it mentioned.
I mean, borscht is that Russian soup thing made with beets, right? And so apparently it's like a lot of people of like Eastern European and Russian ancestry, like the Slavic type people.
Uh-huh.
That's apparently a thing in like certain regions of the US is the Borscht Belt.
Yeah, I think that one's not as well defined because it overlaps a couple others.
Well, a lot of them overlap. I mean, let's face it,
Yep.
I don't consider myself to be Generation X, but I'm not technically a Xennial either, even though I'm more like one.
I want to touch on something you said there, Kate. As far as the perceptions, this is what the non-Americans think and so forth. Those memes. I think to a large extent that's true, and let me justify this. In San Francisco, I always hate this when there's the gay pride. Excuse me. Marches and so forth, parades. The only thing you see on television, the only thing that the news organizations show is the 3 skinny guys in tutus that are trying to look as ridiculous as possible. That's the only thing people see. So that is the impression of what the LGBT community is to those who do not understand it.
Mhm.
In the same sense, atheists are all Richard Dawkins.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
they're always
the
going
number
to
of
take
people
the
who
most
say he's
extreme
our
ones for the ratings.
the number of people who say Richard Dawkins is our patron saint. Oy.
He's not.
I met the guy once. He's shorter than I am.
I follow the Church of Iron Ra.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay.
I worship the high priestess bionic dance.
You poor sucker.
I am going to have to wrap this up shortly because I have a doctor's appointment at 3:00.
Purple's going outside.
Yeah. I've got to go and meet a new doctor so I can get my prescriptions renewed.
Well, make sure you wear a mask.
Always do. I don't wear it while I'm driving, but anytime I get out of the car.
Well, you know, driving, that's not a deal breaker.
Yeah. Well, I really can't because it steams up my glasses, and driving, it's kind of important to see well.
Still, I mean, as long as there's no one else in the car, you won't be infecting anybody
Yeah.
if you're so.
Well, Sloth Girl and I are pretty much tied together that, anything either of us gets, we're both going to have. There's no avoiding that.
Well, one thing that's kind of funny is like my parents are in Mexico right now, and my dad was at the scene of a rather nasty accident. And so, being my dad, he runs up and helps because that's the kind of guy he is. But of course, there were tons of people there, and not everyone had a mask on. And now my mom won't kiss him for 2 weeks.
I can understand that's difficult, but I can also understand the practical level of that.
Okay, I just got to read this. This is from, is it Magnum Nuts? How's that spelled?
Amiga Nuts. Yep.
This is referring to Bionic Dance. It's her ladyship, the Reverend Catherine, the marginally acceptable of House Fur.
Far.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video I made about that, but I did buy myself a noble title with the Principality of Sealand. So technically, that's completely true. Like, because I also bought one of those reverendship things. I got ordained by the Universal Life Church just because I thought it'd be funny to be an ordained atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, you know, all of that is true. Like, how far is my last name? So far.
Do you remember the name of that video? I'd love to see it.
It's literally named what Amiga Nuts said.
Oh, okay. That's great. Actually, I am an ordained minister through the First Church of Atheism, which really interesting is my girlfriend, who is a hereditary witch, at least 5th generation. She is also an ordained minister. So the first time we got to together, we were able to do it with the preacher.
Nice. Yeah.
You were able to do it with a preacher, huh?
Yeah. She was a preacher. I was a preacher. Ordained minister.
Okay.
Oh, smeg in hell, someone with their stupid car alarm. Knock it off.
Yeah, I thought those things had pretty much died off by now.
Oh, unfortunately not.
Yeah, where I was living many years ago, one guy had one, and it would go off almost every night on the street, and would go off for like half hour, 45 minutes because he wouldn't hear it to deactivate it or whatever, I don't know, until people started smashing his window to shut it off.
I'll do it.
So, okay, as I said, I have to get going here. So does anybody have anything they want to plug before we go?
No. I mean, I don't have anything planned for the near future, so.
Okay, nobody's got anything ready to release? No appearances on other channels?
No. I might try to make a video later today, but I also might work on my new animation, so.
Okay, well, I will be back tomorrow at midnight. Tomorrow is World Snake Day.
I'd just like to thank everybody for a great, stimulating conversation.
Stimulate.
You're welcome anytime.
Did it make us moist?
Moist.
Moist. Sorry, I had to.
Oh, and Spooky's coming in right at the end.
Well, good luck with your doctor appointment there, Purple.
Yeah, I just hope they don't give me a hassle about, renewing the stuff I'm already on. That was the problem I had last time I moved, is they didn't want to, the gabapentin is on the restricted schedule and they didn't want to give it to me. And it's like, but I've had a prescription for it for 7 years. I've got 3 previous doctors who say this is what I should be taking.
Yeah. Well, they don't like the flavor of the soup till they've pissed in it themselves.
Yeah. So hopefully I won't have that kind of hassle and they'll just renew everything, with the records from my previous clinic. Okay, so I will see you all later.
Later.
Alrighty. Everybody have a good one.
Bye.
Goodbye.
And remember to think for yourself.
Don't get run